Welcome back, folks. It's another great day here on Valiant Renegade. Make sure you hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that notification bell. Share this sucker out on the social medias. And do leave a comment before you head out today. Because this is where Hollywood comes to get put through the business and financial lens of reality. It's time. Renegade Online. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Good to be here live at 5 on a Wednesday afternoon. Good to see everybody out there. Thank you for joining us. Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. Look, please do hit the like button. Do hit the share button if you're not yet subscribed. Do that. And then we're going to have another show tonight when this one's over, starting probably around 8 Eastern, maybe a little after, depending on how long we go here on Renegade Nation. I got a lot to talk about today. I got all the stuff going on in Minnesota. We did a special show Monday night with Danny Ann. Lawfordite was here and went through a lot with a couple of big topics out there. Venezuela, Minnesota, and then Minnesota got even crazier today. So I'm going to share my thoughts on that as well. Tragically, a life was lost, but at the same time, disobeying and trying to run over police officers does have unfortunate consequences. But we'll talk about that on Renegade Nation later tonight. We'll get there. Let's see. Boomered it. What did I do? Oh, because I didn't have my camera queued up when it opened, Daniel? Probably. Yeah. Yeah, I know. I noticed that. Usually you have to put yourself on stage. I usually put myself on stage before the countdown ends. I thought I had. Clearly I didn't. So at least I noticed it. Am I coming through a little choppy? Because I just had the hardest time loading up a couple of simple web pages. And I'm seeing a stutter. Are y'all seeing a stutter on the video here from time to, I don't know what's going on. I had to get my internet fixed. So I'm hoping that's not it. I'm hoping we're not going to have any tech issues. Yeah, y'all are seeing a stutter. God dang it. I just saw a comment in here. I'm going to address this real quick just for point of clarification. ICE are police officers. They absolutely are. They are federal law enforcement. Immigration, Customs Enforcement have this are law enforcement officers, just as local law enforcement officers, just as FBI, just as ATF, just as DEA. They are a law enforcement agency. They are police. They have policing powers. They have the power of arrest. They have the power of detention. You have to follow their commands. Lawful commands in the same fashion that you have to follow your local municipal police. They ask you to get out of a vehicle like they asked this lady today. You have to comply when you're obstructing, especially. They were at Pennsylvania versus Mims. Go look it up. Supreme Court has already made this very clear. Lawful commands by police officers must be obeyed. It's as simple as that. They have special powers. It is actually the same thing. So in that case, yeah, just to be clear from a legal standpoint, yes, they are, actually. Okay, so let's get into this. It has been kind of a cuckoo week. And I don't know where to start. Obviously, look, we've been talking about, I know, and you can see on the views for videos, you put out a video with Kathleen Kennedy News, and the whole of everything just tends to ignore it. I went to cut the video, basically shoot the raw video early, was it yesterday? yesterday morning, I believe, or Monday morning. I don't recall. And Jonas edited it, put it together for us, got it out there. And yeah, I get it. It's still interesting. We still talk about the business and financial side of Hollywood, like we've been talking about for years. And I've been very consistent on this channel. I haven't, although we've had, we've had discussions about rumors, people that have been on the show throughout the years that have discussed theory and rumors, that alleged rumors of, this is it, this is that. And I've always said from the very beginning, you can go back and watch some of the very first videos I did in early 2021, 5 years ago now. We'll have our 5-year anniversary in about 3 or 4 weeks from now. Very early on, I was very consistent with this. Kathleen Kennedy was not going to be fired, right? She was never going to be humiliated, admonished. She was never going to be terminated in such a fashion. It was always going to be something very gracious, something very celebratory. I remember saying it here on this channel many, many, many times 5 years ago. On Echo Base Network, on Doomcock when I used to frequent his live streams several years ago. And I know a lot of people out there were calling, she's going to get fired. No, she's not going to get fired. She might be retiring at some point. We knew that retirement was going to be there. And there have been, many rumors over the years that I have nodded my head at and said I can find these perfectly plausible in the sense that, Kennedy was a figurehead for Lucasfilm. Kennedy was never really running the day-to-day operations at Lucasfilm, even all the way back to 2012. Lin-Win Brennan, who is a name that I've told you about for years, and I've even said that I've many times I said it'd probably be very likely to see a co-CEO position. In fact, we just saw it happen yet again not long ago at Warner Brothers, when it came to putting in James Gunn and who was it? Peter Safran. What was his name? The co-CEO of DC Studios. You've got a business-headed guy and you've got the creative guy. You're going to have the same thing here at Lucasfilm now with Lin-Win Brennan, who's been running Lucasfilm, doing the true day-to-day management and operational management of Lucasfilm for over a decade now. And then you're going to have Dave Filoni, for good or for ill, mostly ill, running the creative side of Lucasfilm, which again is now he's not just going to be limited to Star Wars, but I mean, then again, what else is there at Lucasfilm really left with any value for Dave Filoni to put his paws on? You've got co-CEOs at places like Netflix still with Ted Sarandos and Greg Peters, right? So my point is that seeing these jointly held executive roles is nothing really new. And this doesn't surprise me one bit. So, getting into that story here, let me grab some of these early super chats that came in. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate y'all. Come on. Why? Uh-oh. What happened here? All right. StreamYard did not mark them. I'm going to mark them now. I don't think I've missed any. Juliet is out there for 2 British pound sterling, evening VR and Valientes. Thank you very much, Juliet. Good to see you, my friend. Archer Merchant says for $10 early because I'm... Oh, wait. Let me get this one. Hold on. Hopefully you're still here, Archer. Let me get these other 2 because this is going to take me into a bit of a longer conversation because you make some good points here. Araxis gifted 5 Valiant Renegade channel memberships. Thank you, Araxis. Much appreciated. And Marcus Quintus also gifted 5. Thank you, Marcus Quintus. Much appreciated, sir. How are those over-the-counter meds going? Araxis says for 5, no, guys. This time the Wicked Witch really is dead. I hate to say it, but I fall in the very large camp of I'll believe it when I see it. Totally understand, and that's what we're here to talk about, right? That's exactly. But again, like I've been saying also for a very long time, does it really matter at this point? Does it? If she had retired, say, 4 or 5 years ago, let's say, for example, when Bob Iger retired the first time, right? And he fully left the building January of 2022. And let's say that at that moment in time, Kennedy had decided to leave, or they could have had her leave one way or another, very graciously with a very large paycheck. Would it have made a difference 3 or 4 years ago? I think there's a very strong argument you could say that absolutely yes, it would have been far better off 3 to 4 years ago than now in 2026, because there's so much additional extensive damage that has been done to the brand since then. I think the most important piece of which is just simple consumer apathy. And as we've stated before on this program, there is probably no more detrimental force to any commercial enterprise in existence in the business world than consumer apathy. Once you have customers, clients, consumers, fans, audience, what have you, that decide that not only do they think your product sucks, but more importantly, they just don't care anymore, you're cooked. There's really no getting it back, at least not to the level that it previously was. And especially when you are talking about a multi-generational juggernaut, not only in movies, but more importantly, financially, far more importantly, in merchandise. It's very hard to start that fire again once it's been doused with cold water, which is basically what you have here. I don't even think there's that many embers left, let alone hot coals. We just have a completely submerged, watered, doused campfire. It's done. So, the fact that Lin-Manuel Brennan and Dave Filoni are now coming in, and I can speculate on a few things, but the rumor is that Kathleen Kennedy was mostly an absentee landlord when it came to Lucasfilm for the last several years. That is highly believable, and I think is honestly 100% true. It wouldn't be terribly uncommon. It wouldn't be the first time in the world that this has kind of happened, especially when you have a perceived name like hers. Maybe not to us, but to her Hollywood elitist peer group, right? That echelon of society, which is about as useless as a day-old dog turd. But that being said, that is the echelon in which these people play, Bob Iger included. Now, Bob certainly hasn't been an absentee landlord. Bob Iger wasn't even an absentee landlord after he left, still interfering with and frankly sabotaging his own chosen successor, Bob Chapek. And then when Bob Iger came back in late 22, that was pretty much it. He was only gone fully for 10 months. So Kennedy would have had to have adiosed at that moment in time. She didn't. Bob Iger came back. And again, now, no surprise that Bob Iger is definitely slated to retire in 2026. And I talked about this a little bit in the video. And I don't think you're going to see Bob surprise everybody again this time and stick around, because one thing that Wall Street does not like is seeing not just one, but multiple failed successions in a business enterprise as large as a scale as Disney's. So it's going to happen. He is going to be walking out, and this time for good, although he still has his 5-year pension, his 5-year consultancy contract all the way through 2032 or whatever it is, where he'll probably still be around trying to meddle from behind the scenes, which I think will be a disaster again. Hopefully he will feel well enough at this point to just walk away and not interfere, but I think he'll still be behind the scenes, messing around in the kitchen, as it were, and especially on the studio side. Hollywood likes him too much because he spends a lot of money on Hollywood. And that may change under somebody like a Josh tomorrow. Who knows? Bob Iger is going to want to press to maintain that level of elitist prestige in places like Brentwood and in Beverly Hills and Hollywood and in general. And I think DeMauro is going to be less enamored with that. At least I hope he will. But bringing it back to Kennedy, the reason I mention all of that is that Bob Iger's retirement is going to be one of the biggest Hollywood parties and celebrations. It's going to be months long with awards and accolades and interviews and press tours, and he's probably going to write another book and all this other kind of stuff. Kathleen Kennedy is going to be doing something similar. And her leaving at the same time that Iger is, again, no surprise. When you see the first time Iger left, one of the biggest Hollywood juggernauts besides him, Alan Horn, retired at the same time. Talked about that in the video yesterday. So again, the source of the rumor being Matt Bellany at Puck Magazine, you can go ahead and cash the check. Short of something radical altering, the fact that a guy like Matt Bellany goes to bat and publishes an article, and we're going to get to it here right now, matter of fact, and not only does he once again reiterate that this is happening, and he talked about this months ago, and he did say, you know, he did suggest, you know, quarter one, quarter two, and I said, well, you know, quarter two is what we're in right now for Disney. And the business fiscal quarters of this make a lot of sense to me. And I don't know why this thing is so... This website loves to all go to one side. I don't know why. When I pull it up. So I'm on the wrong side. Let me switch over here. All right, that's a little bit better. So this came from the article. 20 surefire predictions, 100% probable predictions for 26. And talks about Rush Hour, you know, 4. But this was the one, of course, was the big, got everybody's attention. In the next week or two, Disney will finally confirm what we've all known for months. Again, in the next week or two, he published this on January 6th. So we're talking about sometime between now and, say, January 20th. Right? In the next week or two, Disney will finally confirm what we've all known for months. Kathleen Kennedy is indeed stepping down as Lucasfilm president. Dave Filoni, currently the chief creative officer of the Star Wars unit, will be elevated into the top job. And he adds a little extra piece of evidence here that a lot of people that kind of quoted the article didn't really latch onto. And I think it's important to get your head around this, because this is the type of detail and specificity that you get with Matt Bellany that you don't get anywhere else virtually, because of he is very much in the know. Simon Halls, who is Kathleen Kennedy's personal publicist, has already set up her cushy exit interview. Kind of thinking that he probably called Simon on the phone and said, hey, what's up? And he said, well, my client will have some big interviews happening in the next couple of weeks. It's probably part of this. So take it for what it is. Filoni has never really been a traditional executive. No. So they're giving him a partner in Lin-Win Brennan. What's frustrating to me is that I wish I could go back. I don't keep tabs on what shows I say things on, or, you know, where this video was where I said it. And I don't have the time to go scour back for potentially hours trying to find, here's the exact time I said this. It's in there. Somebody is smarter than me that can go find it. But I've talked about this before, and I probably brought this up at least a year ago, that I felt like, and this was at least during the discussion of when the whole, Jon Favreau, and I've, since day one, when that started coming out, I'm like, that would be fun, but Jon Favreau doesn't want to be the head of somebody else's studio. He doesn't want an office job. He doesn't want a corporate job. That would be basically like drinking battery acid for Jon Favreau. And I don't care what the franchise is. It's just not who the man is. He wants to do his own thing. Does he want to make Star Wars projects? Sure. Does he want to be tied as an executive employee of the Walt Disney Company and president of Lucasfilm in this case? No. No, he doesn't. So that's when we started speculating, well, who would be the next people? And I think I've done this in several videos, and I'm sure some live streams, probably, again, at least a year ago, maybe longer. I said, let me tell you what's probably going to happen, especially once Dave Filoni got that chief creative officer thing. I said, it's going to be him and Lin-Manuel Brennan. Sure enough, who told you? This guy. Again, because of the whole co-CEO nature of this. And look, honestly, just in general, not that I have any care for these two, especially Dave Filoni. I can't tell you that I know a whole hell of a lot about Lin-Manuel Brennan, except for the fact that she has been running Lucasfilm basically by herself for over 10 years. Kathleen Kennedy, again, really a figurehead. Really is a figurehead. Kathleen Kennedy's not sitting there managing an entire operation like this with all its different divisions with Star Wars and Indiana Jones, and you've got ILM, Industrial Lights and Magic over here, Skywalker Sound over there, merchandising, deals, and purchasing. No, that's been largely overwhelmingly Lin-Manuel Brennan is who the point person has been as the general manager of Lucasfilm. And a matter of fact, let me pull this up. Oops. Wrong switch there. Let's just go to it. I'll show you the org chart if y'all have never seen this. Who we are. There you go. Kathleen Kennedy, president. Lin-Manuel Brennan, president and general manager. Lucasfilm business. They've updated that. I don't remember her being listed as president before. At least not a year ago, maybe the last time I looked. Lin-Manuel Brennan, president and general manager, Lucasfilm business unit. That's who your new, that's who the person that's going to be. Let me put it this way. Lin-Manuel Brennan is really going to be the new president of Lucasfilm. Not really Dave Filoni. And what I mean by that is because, I made a joke in the video the other day that Lucasfilm is going to be run now not by one, but by two women, Lin-Manuel Brennan and Dave Filoni. Yeah, I'm not a typo. Lin-Manuel Brennan's really going to be running the show. From the standpoint of operations. I mean, in terms of what a traditional president in a company like this would be doing, Lin-Manuel Brennan is going to be that person. Dave Filoni is going to have the ability to effectively make all the creative decisions in terms of where they go. But that's not to say that Lin-Manuel Brennan is going to sit there and just let him do whatever he wants. Now, she might. But again, does it matter at this point? Look where Carrie Beck is on this org chart now. She was another one that was a potential. But I didn't think she would jump over Lin-Manuel Brennan. But there you go. Carrie Beck was... Oh, she's pretty awful too. When you look at what's about to lead Lucasfilm, it's really a bunch. It's the same thing as we have now. It's going to be a bunch of pissy, whiny, angry white women that don't really care about Star Wars and don't care about the fans. Nothing's changing, guys and girls. Star Wars isn't getting saved. It's not going to improve anytime soon. There's nothing here that should give anybody any hope whatsoever. There is no new hope. It's cooked. Okay. Maybe you won't get, some of the more stupid, crazy entries. Like, I don't know if we'll get something as radically retarded as The Acolyte again. Okay. Because that was definitely something that Kathleen Kennedy wanted. Dave Filoni certainly consulted on it, or I should say his wife did a lot of the consultation on it because she's big into all that witchcraft bullshit. We did a whole video on it. Look at her Instagram page. She's a wacko. And she definitely wears the pants in that family and Dave's balls. But it's where we are. I hate how YouTube's backstage is so screwed up. Like, it constantly shows like massive drops in audience, and then it comes back. I don't. YouTube has got to get their stuff together back there. Any case, so just kind of some quick thoughts on that. Y'all let me know if I'm crazy. If you have other opinions, please do share them. So point is, Araxis, this is it. This is it. And again, we've been saying this is it for a while. But again, my point is to you, and I think you already know this, does it matter? No. No. Not at this point. It doesn't matter. And I don't see anything changing. Not with basically elevating the same crew that's there now that has been responsible largely for handing us the same kind of stuff. Is what it is. Marcus Quintus for 5. Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and Willow are already destroyed. Who cares if she is there or not? Or if Filoni is taking over? Breath not being held. Yep, exactly. Exactly. Achilles Jones for €5. KK's position was about to be fired since The Last Jedi. Is this the real one? Will Filoni create momentum for Star Wars? Is Disney's agenda standing in the way? Yes, there was a lot of calls for her to be fired after The Last Jedi. I don't remember when the actual rumors started that she would be fired. Again, I didn't really come into YouTube until 2021. I remember a few things before that. And then right when I started YouTube is when the Gina Carano thing went off. And then that seemed to really escalate. Really seemed to escalate the failure rate. But, look, after The Mandalorian started and reinvigorated things, and then you got Mandalorian Season 2 at the end of 2020. It was 5 years ago this Christmas, like 2 weeks ago, marked the 5-year anniversary of the finale of Mando Season 2 when Luke Skywalker walked in, if you can believe it. So she was riding on a high at that point. The popularity of Mando, the popularity of Grogu, she was locked in at that point. And then, of course, things really, really went downhill. None of the movies could get off the ground, thank God. She kept running off writers, running off directors, some of them very capable people. And it's, then you got Book of Boba Fett, which was a disaster. You've got Mando Season 3, which was an even bigger disaster. Obi-Wan was meh. And it didn't, honestly, once the show was over, did not move the needle at all for Star Wars in the commercial sense. And then it got followed up with just more absolute crap. More things like The Acolyte and then Skeleton Crew and so on and so forth. And just junk. Really, really expensive trash and junk. And nothing was radically going to change from at that point, I think. And then, of course, like I mentioned before, the whole Bob Iger back and forth for a year and a half, 2 years, with 10 months and 2 weeks of Bob Chapek in the middle of it. And too much upheaval, turnover at Disney, problems. I mean, at that point, here's the thing. Who out there in Hollywood outside of Disney right now would want to come in and take over a completely dead franchise that used to be the biggest thing on the planet? That realistically has very little chance of ever regaining that type of status. Who wants that job? Because the problem is now is that, you know, whoever takes over that job is just going to catch all the blame for everything going forward. When Star Wars continues to not work, when they put out the Starfighter movie, the Mando movie coming out in 5 months from now, when that movie doesn't do that well, or it's not going to do as well as Disney thinks or needs it to, I've said before, I don't think that movie's going to even get. I think that movie might do $600 to $700 million, which in 2026 for a Star Wars movie is dog shit. That's not going to move the needle. And the next thing after that is the Starfighter movie, where allegedly they're bringing back Rey. Like, they couldn't get a Rey movie off the ground, so they're going to stick her in this one because they already optioned Daisy Ridley for a movie. So they figure, why not use her? Who wants to be sitting in the president's chair when that turd drops? I wouldn't want to be there. No, sir. Crouching Taylor, Hidden Swift for 5. They deleted Cecil's channel yesterday. Okay, I saw something about this. This actually happened? For severe bullying against a certain party. Everyone needs to be really careful now. Can we not say who it was? I don't know who it was. I thought it was a political figure or something. So I don't know. YouTube's algorithms are terrible with this stuff. There's no rhyme or reason. No human being at Google is actually looking at this stuff when it happens. They just let the computer do everything, and the computer is a mess. It was Tim Waltz. Well, I mean, I'll say it here. We've got plenty of channels. Tim Waltz is a piece of crap. Now, I don't know what Cecil was saying. Cecil can get, I mean, even more spicy than I'll get sometimes. So I don't know. I didn't see it, but the idea that he was bullying, I mean, was he calling for the audience to do something? I legit, I have no idea. I'm trying to make heads or tails of this, but you say that, I did see something about that. My mic is popping? Why? Really? There's something weird going on today. I was getting a stutter, and now you're telling me the mic is popping. Uh-oh. Shouldn't be. Okay. Marcus says for 5, next time you do a video where you have Sydney Sweeney over your head, just need to take 5 to 10 seconds to look straight at it and look at her puppies. Just saying. Yeah. All right, I'll do that next time. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really change anything here. I don't know why something happened. Might be time to, I mean, I have dogged this preamp out for this microphone for 5 years. Maybe it's time to replace a couple of parts and give it a refresh. That could be part of it. So my stock is dropping. Fix your feed. Is the feed going that bad? I can't see it from my end. You guys, if it's really bad, tell me. But okay, it's okay. I don't know what's going on. It looks fine on my end. I'm not seeing any internet discrepancies here. Let me check. Let me do a quick. Let me just double check here. Running a speed test. Holy moly. Okay, so no. My download speed right now is pushing 800, which it should be higher, but probably Renegade Jr.'s probably in his room playing video games. Upload speed is at almost 700. So, yeah, we should be good. If it's freaking out, it's StreamYard. Sorry. Yeah. So I'm full speed on this. I've got 700 to 800 upload and download, and I see a little bit of a stutter right now. So I'm guessing that it must be something. It must be something in StreamYard, because like I said, I don't know. I wish I could tell you. Any case, all right. So I don't know. I don't know if you guys have any additional questions on this stuff, because I don't even know. Where from this point, where do you go? Big Blue Horses for 5 want to know when Star Wars was truly finished. The Force is female. Dissent was called toxic. Filoni was all over that, clapping in full support. Bye-bye. You're wrong. I mean, you're not wrong, Big Blue Horses. You're not wrong at all. You're totally right. When they came out wearing those Force is female things and all this kind of crap, and when you blended that with what they did in those movies with legacy characters like Han Solo and Luke Skywalker, the characters that actually were Star Wars, that made Star Wars, as opposed to this hand-me-down Mary Sue female girl power bullshit that we got from Kathleen Kennedy's butthole. Hey. Again, I mentioned this. Did y'all see some of the new Lego sets, these smart Legos, or whatever they're calling these things, smart blocks? And they're showing these new Star Wars sets. Did anybody catch the fact that it's all like, it's TIE fighters, it's X-Wings, it's Death Star stuff, it's OG, original Star Wars, it's all that stuff. There's nothing in there from Skeleton Crew. There's no Lego sets for the Acolyte. There's not even really any Lego sets for Mando, I think, at this point. They might have 1 or 2 with the movie coming out. But there's nothing there nothing of any substance. And again, that's where the damage that we've talked about for years has really been done to the merchandising power of that brand. And when you juxtapose that with the amount of money that the Walt Disney Company has spent on this company, on Lucasfilm, not only at its acquisition for $4.05 billion or whatever it was dollars, but all of the CapEx that has been injected since that point in time. $2 to $3 billion to build out a couple of theme parks and a bankrupt Star Wars hotel. A Star Wars themed hotel went bankrupt in under a year. In Disney World, a Star Wars hotel went bankrupt in under a year. If that right there should be enough to assuage the nonsense from any Disney Star Wars shill and any doubter of the veracity of Disney-branded Star Wars, it doesn't exist. It was only 100 rooms. Yeah, it was $3,000, $3,500 for a 2-night stay and $5,000 for a 2-night stay if you were a family. This was outrageously expensive. There's Disney adults that live in constant credit card debt because all they do is run up credit card bills going to Disney World. You don't think Disney could find 100 people to go stay in a Star Wars-themed hotel and keep that place relatively well booked, at least above 75 to 80%, almost year-round? Come on. If it was real Star Wars, it would have worked. If Disney had not destroyed the brand, it would have worked. But it didn't, because they didn't. Simple as that. And you still have all the shills out there in places like X and Reddit that want to run around and act like we're starting a petition to get this stupid Ben Solo movie that would have an audience about as big as the Acolytes, which is to say it virtually wouldn't exist. But somehow, some way, Dave Filoni's going to save it all. promise you. Dave Filoni is going to save all of it. Don't you worry. And if you believe that, I got a bridge to sell you in Arizona's desert. Sorry, I'm itchy. I got to dust this desk off. It is getting bad. Ugh. Here's what I want to ask the chat. I want you guys to think about this. So, again, according to Matt Bellany, and pull it back up, so in case you missed it, again, this is not, we made it up. This wasn't some, wild, freaking crazy bullshit, made up nonsense. I invented it this morning rumor that's out there on Reddit or whatever. It's Matt Bellany. This is cash the check, as we said. This is take it to the bank. Simon Halls, Kennedy's personal publicist, has already set up her cushy exit interview, and he even quips, "I'm sure the Pulitzer Prize Committee is standing by for that piece of journalism." He's a little snarky there. Filoni has never really been a traditional executive, so they're giving him a partner in Lin-Manuel Brennan, currently president and general manager of Lucasfilm Business, but he'll be the decider on the creative direction of the franchise in film, television, and any other platforms in the galaxy. So here's the question. What do y'all think that is... Do y'all think that there are going to be any big bombshells in this interview? There's going to be big celebratory pieces written up on Kathleen Kennedy. You're going to see them in places like Empire, Variety, Hollywood Reporter. There are going to be clips everywhere. There's going to be probably going to get out there. You'll get to Vanity Fair. They'll have her on the cover of all these magazines celebrating, the queen of Hollywood, Hollywood's most successful woman ever. These are all she's actually going to get called this kind of stuff. You're going to see the celebrations of what an amazingly powerful vagina that she's been in Hollywood. If that means anything. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be celebrating her gender in the roles that she's had. Of course, we all know that the roles that she's had have been thanks to a cacophony of men who were far more talented that got her there. You take out Steven Spielberg, take out Richard Donner, take out George Lucas, take out Chris Columbus, take out her own husband, Frank Marshall, and Kathleen Kennedy probably would still be slinging coffee, maybe in Bob Iger's office as his executive assistant. That's about it. So, she going to drop any bombshells? You think? Think she's going to spill any beans? Do you think Kathleen Kennedy in any of these interviews, because undoubtedly the questions are going to be asked, something along the lines of, "Miss Kennedy, you've had such an amazing, strong female career in Hollywood, and you had to put up with so many awful, toxic men and horrible Star Wars fans. Would you like to tell them anything now that there's going to be a question, there's going to be a setup, something along those lines." And Kennedy has obviously stepped in this before. She has even 10 years later. She did an interview, about a year or two ago, we talked about it, where she talked about, she's still basically blaming men. She was still blaming Star Wars fans for her failure and for Disney's failure. Blaming the fans for effectively not accepting her brand of Star Wars, not accepting Disney's brand of Star Wars, not showing up, not buying the merch, right? By extension. Basically, it's the fan blaming, the audience blaming trope of modern Hollywood feminism nowadays, which is it's one of the most off-putting, offensive, disgusting, and frankly short bus retarded things I've ever seen from any industry. And a lot of people in Hollywood engage in this. But I'm curious what y'all think. You know, yeah, let's make a poll, Marcus. Let's make a poll here. And I want to let me try to be specific with this. We're gonna make the poll. Hang on. Ask viewer questions live. Start Q&A. Oh, that's a new one. All right, ask a question. All right, here it is. Just kind of simple. Will Kathleen Kennedy insult fans one last time in her interviews? I put interview, but there's going to be multiple, right? Tell me what y'all think. Go. I'm going to enjoy some Peroni. Actually, that one was empty. That's the one I just opened. Holy shit, we got 56 votes. It's 98-2. A minute ago, it was 100. With 50 votes in, it was 100% yes. It's 98-2, yes. Come on, keep going, guys. Keep voting in the poll. All right, so look. So y'all think that somewhere, and you know this thing is, it's going to be like 6 pages in a magazine kind of. This is going to be a long interview. It's going to be like, it was the interview that she did, wasn't it, with Leslie Headland right around the time? Yeah, it was around the time The Acolyte came out. It was there was an interview, and usually we see a lot of Lucasfilm related stuff. It winds up in Empire magazine. And she did that bit in there where basically she lamented the fans again. It's just, you know, that toxic group of people on YouTube. No, we're realists, Pumpkin. We're realists, and we're pissed at you for, taking a piss on something that, you know, I'm 46 years old, something that guys my age and older grew up with and loved, you know. So sorry that we hurt your little feelings there. But yeah, kind of stupid. Hang on a second. Let me clear this out. Thank you, Big Blue. And 70s Rock fan, what's up, man? Good to see you. Member for 2 months. They should build a KK statue to honor her. Key feature of this 12-foot bronze monument should be a tray of coffee that she's carrying. Amen to that. That would be awesome. I would love to see Steven Spielberg sponsor that one. Archer Merchant for 5. Theory, Disney probably did audits after the drops in stock. Bombs now probably want Iger and KK out before new people take the hit. Repeat Chapek. Well, I mean, they need succession. It's not to do. I mean, look, it's, again, we've always said this. There's no one movie, or even, honestly, look, a whole slate of movies, 5 movies in a row that will bomb for Disney, you know, fail miserably at the box office. It still doesn't move the stock price that much. And when they have giant successes, it still really doesn't have that big of an impact on the stock price. Because, again, for companies like Disney, that's the tiniest source of revenue for the company. The biggest source of revenue is the theme parks, and especially the hotels, the resorts, namely Orlando, Florida. And then behind that is live sports, television revenue, stuff like that. At box office is way down the line. Now, the problem is that when the box office continues to fail over and over a long enough period of time, it will then start to sour and flatten theme parks, because, as they always talk about, the flywheel at Disney, well, we make these movies, we spend this money because it helps drive traffic in other avenues of the business. Well, if it's all unpopular, then there's no way you can convince me it's driving traffic elsewhere. You're literally just pissing away money at that point. You'd be better off stopping making movies altogether and just let the theme parks roll. I mean, if you're losing $1 billion in a fiscal year on failed movies, and you're only making that up by having Disney Plus consume it, so you're not making anywhere near the profit on Disney Plus you should be, or at least with streaming in general, because you're writing $100 million, $200 million checks over to theatrical to kind of make up some of the losses, as opposed to, again, licensing to Netflix, for example, right? Like they used to do. Like Disney used to have a contract with Netflix, and Netflix paid them a ton of money. Those movies left the theater, and then they went to Netflix, and Disney got a big old fat check every year from Netflix. Collectively, I mean, Disney has given up billions with a B in revenue from Netflix over the last 6+ years since they moved everything over to Disney Plus. And Disney Plus is probably still, close to 10 billion, in the hole, cumulatively since it started. You're talking about a potential, 15, maybe $20 billion swing in overall revenue at Disney over the last 5 to 6 years. Like positive operating income that would have happened just by having not sent all their movies from the theater to their own streaming service. That's not running the flywheel. The downfall of Star Wars will be studied for generations, says Captain JPS47. I'd love for that to be the case. I'm concerned that Star Wars has been so damaged and so forgotten. I think it'll just be forgotten. That's the sad thing. I think largely it's going to be forgotten. I hope it will be studied. I have my doubts. I don't know. Could be wrong. Mountain Giant says Kennedy and Disney are narcissists. Everything is always someone else's fault, never theirs. More or less. I mean, when you have somebody die on Disney property because of a food allergy that the kitchen at a restaurant that was leasing on Disney property, didn't observe. And then if Disney's excuse was, you can't sue us because you bought a ticket to Epcot and you signed up for a trial run of Disney Plus 3 years ago. Literally what they did, or they tried to do. No, Disney doesn't take responsibility for shit. Only when they do something right. If they break it, if they screw it up, if they fail, no, they never admit it. They just don't talk about it. Case in point, what have we talked about before? Remember when Disney started putting out numbers, their own internal numbers for select Disney Plus premieres? I believe it started with Ahsoka, if I'm not mistaken. First time ever. Ahsoka came out on Disney Plus, and Disney bragged that Ahsoka racked up in the first 5 days, I think it was, 14-point-something million global views in the first 5 days, which is less than the average Netflix documentary that shows up on a random Friday. But Disney bragged about it. Then Acolyte came out, and it was less, or I don't remember what came out. What came out between Ahsoka and the other one? Maybe it was Acolyte, and it was 11 million, and then Agatha came out, and they stretched it out to a full 7 days, and they said it was 9 million or something like that. And then that was it. Disney didn't ever release numbers again. They never released numbers for Skeleton Crew. They never released numbers for anything else, Marvel or Star Wars. They did it a couple of 2 or 3 times, and then they realized that people like me were out there looking at these numbers. We'd go make a video and call them out on how shit the numbers were. Like Disney was bragging about this, but one thing we noticed was that the numbers were consistently going down 20, 30% show to show to show, and they weren't starting out with big numbers to begin with. And it became blatantly obvious that the audience just, this is my point, Disney didn't come out and say, wow, we really whiffed with this show. Andor, they didn't brag about Andor Season 2. That was the other one I was trying to remember. They didn't come out and brag about Andor Season 2. They didn't release internal data, I don't recall, I don't think, if I'm thinking of the right one, on Andor Season 2. They wanted to brag about how big Ahsoka was, right? Oh, that was the biggest thing on Disney Plus so far that year. This is the only thing on Disney Plus so far that year. But they didn't, it was crickets with Skeleton Crew. It was crickets with Andor Season 2, if memory serves as well. I don't think they've gone back and reported on numbers like that again. And the reason is because the numbers are trash. They're trash. What they're basically telling us is that at the time they decided to start bragging about their own internal numbers, because Netflix was putting pressure, and still is, on the industry to be very open with the data of who is watching what, and how much consumption there is globally of programming. And Disney has a relatively similar footprint in terms of international streaming capacity as Netflix, in terms of which countries they're in and how many countries they're in. And Disney started, okay, we'll play the game. And they started releasing internal numbers after 5 days to a week of a show being out. Whereas Netflix, 3 days later, they got the numbers out, and they're bigger than every number that Disney has after 20 days. But Disney then stopped doing it. They stopped doing it within a year. I don't even know if it was 6 months. But, I mean, and they only did it for like a Marvel show would come out. A Star Wars show would come out. They didn't put it out for everything. They selectively picked it, but then they haven't done it again since. It's been like a year or a year and a half since I think The Acolyte or Agatha All Along was the last one, which was what, late? Agatha All Along was latter part of 2024. I don't think they've done one since then. Why is that? Because they're not going to tell you they're failing. They're just simply not going to talk about it. This is how you always have to interpret how Disney feels about a project. They're either going to do one of two things. If they feel like the project is great and and they're happy with the performance, at least in their own little world, they're going to come out and brag about it. And they're going to give you numbers to brag about. If it doesn't, if the way you know that they failed is if they shut up and they never mention it again. Like The Acolyte. Like Andor Season 2. Like Skeleton Crew. Like, we can go on down the line. Basically everything that they put on Marvel TV. I still can't believe they're coming out with this. What was this other show? They're coming out with this other Marvel show. They obviously had that thing greenlit before they decided to can all these things. And this is, Ironheart was another one. Ironheart, my God, they could not squeeze that turd out fast enough. They could not flush the toilet. They were flushing the toilet before it finished dropping. They wanted that thing gone. They never talked about Ironheart again. They just dumped it out on Disney Plus and then pretended like it never existed. Wonder Man, is that it? I don't know. I saw a preview. I was like, oh, what is this? What is this absolute trash? Oh, man. I got about 500 of y'all watching on YouTube. Appreciate y'all being here, man. Look, hit the like button for me. Hit the share button. We need that. Likes and shares. They are free. Super chats, extraordinarily appreciated. But likes and shares, we need those just as much, if not more. We need that one. Did which trash come out? Acolyte or no, Wonder Man? I don't think Wonder Man's come out yet. I don't know. I'm so done with Marvel at this point. I really just kind of, I was like, whatever, done, don't care. All right, let me get back to this one from Archer Merchant for $10. He said, early because I'm out, but looking at the text for the deal proposed by Netflix, doesn't that mean it won't even happen for like 8 months if approved, whereas Paramount's would be immediate if approved? Okay. So on to the Warner Brothers thing real quickly. And of course, there's news today that Warner Brothers has yet again rejected Paramount, or at least they've advised shareholders to reject the tender offer from Paramount. And they still have until, shareholders still have until January 21st to voluntarily tender their shares to Paramount for the $30, which is more than what it's trading at on the market today, by about $1.50 or $2. Yes, the Netflix deal, it would be more dragged out because, Archer, the Netflix deal is predicated on the notion that they want David Zaslav to spin off the television stations first. Whereas the Paramount deal wants the whole schmear. They want everything. So a Paramount deal, in theory, if it were to close and get approved, it would just go right into federal regulatory oversight. If approved and everything else, it would go. Whereas Netflix, if the deal gets accepted, it then kind of sits in a bit of limbo for 8 to 10 months until the completed spinoff of Warner Brothers linear assets, minus HBO itself, are shot out of a cannon into a separate entity. And then Netflix would come in and buy the remainder, right? So, which would be the big chunk, the film studios, the IPs, so on and so forth. So, yes. But yeah, they rejected the deal. They advised shareholders to reject the deal. So, in that, my point is that I'm going to go back to my original stance here, and I'm going to tell you. Let me pull it up real quick. Come on, Warner Brothers. Here we go. All right. This is my point. Zaslav's real happy with where the stock price is right now, and he would love for it to go higher. He would absolutely love for Paramount to come in and do what Paramount is going to need to do to have a shot, and that is make the offer 34. I've been saying this now for a month, if not longer. Paramount is going to need to come in with $34, not 30. 34. Then the argument becomes completely untenable for Warner Brothers and their shareholders. Because, and look, they're trying to make the argument here that there's a lot of debt financing and all this kind of stuff and leverage and blah, 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 blah. Again, I think part of me is the language that Warner Brothers is using is Zaslav trying to squeeze every dollar he can, which I understand. As he should. That's what he's supposed to do. That's what Zaslav's supposed to be doing for the shareholders. Get every dollar he can for you, right? They're going to have to get, and look, even David Ellison said that the $30 was not their best or final offer. His words. So when you tell the other guy that, well, okay, let's go. What is your best, last, final offer? Better be close to 34, because then a lot of the concern goes away. So going back to, let's see, I'm going to try to find Where is it? Yeah, let's just use the one from the WSJ here. Oh, you're gonna make me log in because you're a douche. All right, I'm gonna have to do this on. I'll have to do this on Apple News. Bear with me. Let me get this up. Point being, though, is that Warner Brothers had a number of grievances, of course, in their reasoning behind why they did not want to accept, or they did not want the. They can't control, essentially, at the end of the day, what the shareholders do, right? Here we go. This is what I want. Okay. Here we go. And Apple News is not as friendly as they used to be with how this lays out on the screen. It all works like it's on a mobile device now, where it's just a skinny little column, and I hate this. Warner Brothers Discovery recommended shareholders reject Paramount's amended hostile bid for the company, saying its existing deal with Netflix is stronger. In a letter to shareholders made public on Wednesday, Warner Brothers said the amended Paramount Skydance offer wasn't superior, quote, or even comparable to the $72 billion Netflix deal for its movie and TV studios in the HBO Max streaming service. Paramount recently made changes to its $77.9 billion all-cash bid for the entire company, hoping it would prompt Warner Brothers to walk away from its agreement with the streaming giant. Warner's board unanimously decided Paramount's latest offer remains inadequate, particularly given the insufficient value it would provide. The insufficient value that Warner Brothers is referencing here, what they don't like is that they are compared to the Netflix offer for just the film and TV studios plus HBO, is that the Paramount deal, again, is not putting enough of an additional premium for the linear assets, right? Warner Brothers believes a linear asset spinoff would yield somewhere in their minds between $4 and $6 per share. So if Netflix is offering, for example, about $28 a share just for film and television studios plus HBO, and Warner Brothers thinks they'll get that $28 from Netflix, and then they'll get $4 to $6 a share in the spinoff, 28 plus 6 is 34. That's where my number comes from. That's where my number's been coming from the get-go. This is why, when they say that there's not enough value in the offer, they're looking for closer to 34. It's like, well, if you think your spinoff shares are worth $4 to $6, maybe a year from now, well, we'll give you the $4 or $5 extra, even $6 extra right now as a promise, guaranteed. Then this is what I mean when I say it becomes virtually untenable for them to ignore such an offer. Who wants to wait around for maybe getting $5 or $6 a year from now versus having somebody put that $5 bill in your hand right now today? Anybody that says they wouldn't rather a $5 bill in their hand today versus maybe getting $5 or $6 a year from now is crazy. Okay? Now, part of what they're saying in here is, again, they've had concerns about, well, is Larry really personally guaranteeing this and backing it up? Or there's a lot of leverage that would be taken on and yada, yada, yada. I think the big thing here is they want $34 a share. If they come up with $34 a share, then it's going to be done. Now, will David Ellison up the bid before, say, January 21st, when the current tender offer is set to expire? I don't know. That's a little bit deeper in the weeds than my knowledge base, but I would probably suggest, or I would probably think, that the next offer, they would probably wait. So, I mean, if you got people tendering shares right now at $30 a share, and some will, maybe not a whole lot, but some will, then you're going to get as many shares at $30 as you can. And then if you turn around and make a new tender offer for $34, right? So maybe we get an announcement of a new tender offer on the afternoon after the market close of January 21st. That would not surprise me. I would think that's probably one of the more likely scenarios to happen right now if Paramount is still serious. And they seem very serious about this. Ellison and his backers have repeatedly said they believe they've addressed all of Warner's stated concerns and that Paramount's financing for the bid is solid. Now, remember, Warner Brothers is also, or Paramount's also trying to engage in a lawsuit with Warner Brothers saying that their review process was not transparent and not fair. And again, they're playing legal games at this point. And of course, the lawyers are happy to do this because they're making money. I think at the end of the day, that's all going to go away, obviously. Samuel D. Piazza Jr., chair of Warner Brothers board, said Wednesday on CNBC that while the elder Larry Ellison had stepped up by guaranteeing Paramount's latest offer, ultimately he didn't raise the price. Ta-da! They want 34, damn it. I've been saying this. But again, I understand what David Ellison is doing here. Zaslav, obviously, he wants the guarantee. He wants everything now. Gimme, gimme, gimme. Ellison is on the other side going, I'm going to try to lowball this and get it for as cheap as I can. And again, if he can squirrel up 2, 3, 4, 5% of the shares at 30 a share with this tender offer between now and when it expires in the next 2 weeks, 2 weeks from today, as a matter of fact, then he'll take it. And then he'll turn around and offer the next round. Okay, hey, anybody now? Okay, I've cleared all the people out of the room that are willing to sell for 30. Now I'm looking for the people willing to sell at 32. He might have another break before he gets to 34. I don't know. But here's the thing. Kind of the problem here, and I maybe I should have brought this up before. I kind of wonder, one of the things working against Netflix right now is the fact that their offer is contingent upon the spinoff. And it's essentially giving other competitors like Paramount loads more time to make, or at least try to make, successful counteroffers. If for example, hey, oh yeah, Netflix wants to buy us, good, sign on the contract, deal is done. Now we just await on federal regulation approval. But it's not. Netflix is like, hey, we want to make a deal. Okay, well, we'll make a deal in principle, and then we'll wait 8 months. The whole thing is contingent upon the spinoff. Well, that 8 months gives guys like David Ellison all frickin' day long to sit here and play these games. Be funny. Netflix might have to step up. Netflix might have to come up with a higher offer. If Netflix wants to make Paramount go away, because they know it, they got to know it's coming. They got to know the $34 is coming. And then what? Netflix is then going to have to offer to match it. Do what? Offer $34 a share just for film and television, and then still let Warner Brothers try to spin off the rest? Is Netflix really going to start overpaying? I mean, they'd be overpaying by a lot if they did that. I mean, it wouldn't. I don't think it would be as bad as the Disney Fox situation, although it could be. But it's getting funny. It's getting funny. It's all we can do is wait and see. So 256 people voted in this Kennedy poll. 95% of you say yes, she is going to insult the audiences there. Shocky makes Shockerton. By the way, I saw my boys over at Echo Base. They'd put out some new Star Wars videos recently since the first of the year. Holy crap. Coach got like 100-something thousand views on one of those videos, and then 40, 50,000. Man, they're killing it over there. That's awesome. If y'all haven't checked out Echo Base in a while, go check them out. I miss those guys. I need to go hang out with them again. It's been a hot minute. Star Wars has gotten so off the radar for me, and then I don't like when I get on YouTube. I'm not watching other YouTubers so much anymore. I'm watching just other stuff. Well, some of them are YouTubers, but what I say is I like to go in there and I'll watch. I'm re-binging old episodes of Kitchen Nightmares right now. I miss that show. I'll turn it on at night when I'm in bed or something, or if I'm just sitting around doing paperwork, I'll have it running in the background or some crap like that. So, but I need to get back over and hang out with those guys. Let's see. Archer says for 5, thanks for the clarification. Yeah, I think Paramount's offer is way better than, even if maybe not adequately priced for the news portion. Well, it's more than just the news portion. I mean, it's all the linear assets. It's CNN, it's the Discovery Network thing. It's everything that falls under that linear side, minus HBO itself, because that's going to go with Max, right? I think it's everything in that bag. Marcus Quintus for $5 on the entertainment side of things. Thoughts on Dan Bongino returning to the podcast live stream, albeit on Rumble? I didn't know he did. Didn't know. I never really watched Dan Bongino that much, but then it's not him. It's just I don't really go on Rumble. And I've said that, y'all have heard me say this before. I know Rumble wants to be a competitor to YouTube, but they are light years away from ever having a prayer. And I hate to say that. Unless you're really, really big and you can get a special contract with Rumble, you cannot, we could not do this show on Rumble. It cannot pay the bills. Absolutely could not do it. It's the revenue on Rumble is not even 5%. Not even 5%, and I'm not even exaggerating. Not even 5% of what YouTube is. It's so bad. Not to say that YouTube is like we're swimming in loot, but Rumble is so inferior from that perspective. They're just not there yet. And it's really hard for creators to, unless you're a Dan Bongino and you get the special deals, you cannot make, Rumble is not a viable platform for content creators by itself, unfortunately. If it was, yeah, I'd look at moving tomorrow, but it isn't. Archer for 5, I think Paramount wins if a lawsuit is approved, then goes to Discovery and they get Netflix emails, messages, so I can see either. I don't know. A lot of the communications that take place for this kind of stuff, they have to be reported to the SEC anyway. I don't know. Not everything, obviously, but I think the lawsuit is just a bit of a red herring right now. It's legal maneuvering, just to try to slow things down with this deal with Netflix, just to give Paramount enough time to do what they need to do or what they think they need to do. DBZZ now for 5. In the long term, I don't see why the Ellisons are doing this. This will be such a messy company financially. Maybe. But, I mean, they're being pretty aggressive at it, and Larry is not a stupid guy by any stretch. So they obviously see something. They obviously know whatever plans they have in mind. They obviously see some big, long-term beneficial value to it. I remember when you think about the fact that if you put, you got things like Paramount and Warner Brothers together, they will be rivaling Disney, maybe even bigger at that point, when it comes to the share of revenue from all the cable subscriptions. And then when you have streaming services like they do that honestly marry up pretty well together, Paramount Plus and HBO Max, that could be consolidated into a singular unit, cut a lot of costs of duplicity between managing two large streaming services. Coalescing a lot of these IPs and the management of them, there's a lot of potential cost saving there. Netflix, on the other hand, Netflix is scarier to me because, again, Netflix, a lot of respect for them as a business model. They invented an entire industry, and they will forever be the kings of it, streaming. But they need to stay in their lane. getting involved in buying major Hollywood studios because, again, I want Netflix to do more work with theatrical. Realistically, I don't believe they ever will. Not as long as guys like Ted and Greg are at the top of the house there. They don't seem to have any love or respect for it. They don't care. They're gonna say that they will honor the film slate of Warner Brothers when they buy them, but I don't think they will. I think the windows for films from Warner Brothers into theaters will be even shorter, and they will not be around for but a few years. As I've stated before, the minute the contracts for existing films run out, so if you are, for example, you got films at Warner Brothers that are already greenlit for theatrical, production, those will have, those will have to go to theaters. But anything else down the road, anything they haven't greenlit yet that would be greenlit by a Netflix ownership down the road, why they probably won't do it. It's like, no, we're not doing this. We're only doing movies for streaming now. I don't like it at all. I don't. Here's the other thing. For the business model, when David Zaslav first came in, we covered all the way back to that first earnings call that he was involved in back in August of 22. First full quarter that he was there as CEO. And he and J.B. Perrette, their head of content, basically, got on there and they lamented. They said this idea of bypassing theatrical and collapsing everything into a streaming window, just right out and into streaming and getting rid of all is just the stupidest thing ever. They were pushing back on what Jason Kilar had done there with Project Popcorn the previous year that destroyed. It was such a day and date releases on Netflix or on HBO Max and theaters at the same time. It was terrible. It killed revenue because the theaters basically gave them next to nothing of the gate for those films. So to say now that Netflix, they're gonna David Zaslav and J.B. Perrette want to see it sold off to a company like Netflix, to where that's exactly what they're going to do again. Now, financial never mind for Warner Brothers at that point because they'll be out of the game. But part of me just wonders again if it's not posturing, or some little small part of it is posturing again to squeeze every penny that they can out of the Ellisons. And I go back to saying David Zaslav is not a stupid man. He knows exactly what he's doing. And he's, why would I take $30 a share when I know these guys are willing to give me $34? That's where we are. I think that's where David Zaslav is. I'd say 75% sure on that, at least. Might be wrong. Leaving myself a little room there, but I'm thinking I'm knowing it. I know what he's doing. Okay. Alrighty. Well, that was the two big stories that I kind of wanted to get to tonight. I will say this because I want to be able to take a little break. We might start a few minutes later for Renegade Nation. I don't want to be completely, my voice completely wrecked for that. There was one piece of a follow-up story. I know I meant to bring this up earlier. Where is it? Yeah, it kind of goes hat in hand, I think, with what we talked about earlier. Just real quick, going back to this KK thing. This bitch. Nothing more than a formality. One of the sources that Pro has claims she's basically already gone. Now, I will tell you from a structural standpoint, from the business side of things, that it is very possible that, officially somewhere in there that she may have been gone since December 31st. She may have been gone since October 31st, which is usually when her contract would come up for renewal. But you don't go out and announce it. You just let everything keep riding as it is. Nobody says anything, and you plan, especially for somebody like this, you plan a grand exit. And look, the other reason why I think of why this is the case, and why the timing of this is important and why it makes a lot of sense, what Matt Bellany is saying, okay? They want the announcement for sure before we get to the Oscars. Because the Oscars are probably going to do something. And then next year, it's going to be Bob Iger's turn at the Oscars when he's, finally retired at the end of this year. Because remember, next year is the last year, I think, right? Is it 2028 or 29? 27? The Oscars are going to YouTube. I think it's in 2028. So we've got this year's Oscars 26, next year's Oscars 27, and then in 2028, the Oscars are leaving ABC, Disney. They're leaving ABC for the first time in 50 years, and they're going to YouTube. So Kennedy gets her little, jazzy presentation this year, and then Bob Iger gets his next year. Makes sense to me. But he goes into the whole puck thing, and he mentions that, insider, and we talked about this before, insiders have quietly suggested that Kennedy's day-to-day involvement has been minimal. She's rarely seen publicly at the studio, which we've heard that for many, many years. She's very, very infrequently there. And remember, it's in San Francisco. It's up where she's from. Seldom appears at fan-facing events outside of major announcements. Don't forget, I think, didn't she and her husband sold their home in Los Angeles just about a year ago. I mean, no surprise there. In the past, we've talked with Lucasfilm employees that have told us Kennedy is almost never seen on the campus. Creative authority has been shifting towards Dave Filoni all this time. We've known that. This is just a formal announcement. So, again, I just wanted to bring this up since there was an article here on that Park Place. Make sure you're checking out that Park Place each and every day for the news. Geeksandgamers.com as well for the news. And then we're going to try to I didn't mean to pull that one up, sorry. And you can keep up to date what's going there, and of course on our channel here. Danielle Alpine says for $10, I'm still worried about the future of movie theaters. If it does become a niche market, please help me understand why it's not bad, because I don't understand and I don't think I can accept that. I don't want it to become a niche market. I agree with you. It shouldn't. One of the good things is that IMAX just had its best year ever in terms of total revenue. I mean, more screens that are IMAX branded in tandem with AMC. And the audiences that are going to see movies, oftentimes they want to try to go, especially with things like Avatar, they want to go see it in IMAX. They want to go to the biggest screen possible. So from a niche standpoint, yes, these niche screens, if you want to call them that, PLFs, non-branded IMAX big screens, and IMAX itself. And theaters realize this. So this is why places like AMC, we talked about this previously, they're looking at investing in more bigger screens. Instead of having 12 screens in a cinema, maybe we have 10, but instead of having 2 big PLFs, we have 4 or 3 or something like this. And more with higher-end projectors and higher-end seating. Customers are coming in and they are paying extra. They don't mind paying extra for the premium experience. They've been studying this now in the industry the last several years. So even though there may be fewer people showing up, the people who are showing up are overwhelmingly willing to pay top dollar more often than not for the premium experience. So it may get a little bit more condensed in terms of numbers. But again, the big problem is that Hollywood is pushing out shit. If Hollywood would stop pushing out the trash and the rehashed, repackaged garbage, we wouldn't be having these conversations. Speaking of rehashed trash, that bitch right there. If we had less people in Hollywood like Kathleen Kennedy, completely pooch screwing things all the time, wouldn't have these problems with theaters. Did you see members of HWD already regretting NY? Archer, you got to help me on that one. You don't have to super chat me again. I appreciate it, but just type. I'm looking at the regular chat. Type in the chat. What is members of HWD? Oh, did you see members of Hollywood already regretting? You talking about NY as in New York? Talking about Mamdani? I don't know. What's the NY? Just so I'm sure. The governor of New York is already regretting it. New York, yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Doesn't surprise me. The guy's a freaking loon. But again, anybody that takes advice from Hollywood people on how to vote, or Hollywood in general, yeah, I mean that's I'm sorry, you're retarded. Don't do it. Access 820 for $2. Thank you very much, and Semper Fi. See that United States Marine Corps logo in there. Hoorah. All right. I think we got everybody. All right. I'm going to take a little break here. We're going to automatically redirect you over to the lobby for Renegade Nation. Get your butt on over to Renegade Nation. Because then I'm gonna go through some of the stuff that happened today in Minnesota, share some thoughts, a little bit of analysis on that. And I'm sure in the last couple hours since we've been sitting here doing this show, there's probably even more news out there, and I need a few minutes. So if we don't start, the show's supposed to start like 23 minutes. I might need a few extra minutes, so don't panic if I'm 10 minutes late. I might push the show back 10 minutes just in case. That would give you a little bit more time to grab something to eat real quick. Because usually I come home right from the office on Wednesdays, and I jump right in front of the camera. So I need a little bit of a break here, and then we're going to get to that. Make sure you tell everybody to head on over there, Renegade Nation, share the link out. Make sure you hit the like button when you get over there. Like, don't wait for the show to go in and hit the like button right away. Do me a favor, hit the share button, all that kind of crap. Because that's a big help. Start making comments in the chat. Help with the algorithm for Renegade Nation. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate y'all. And we will see you on Sunday. Oh, wait, we got to see. Try to contact Kirsha. She's been going hard. Oh, I bet. I need to. Kirsha, you got to understand, there's like one decent way to get in touch with Kirsha. And that doesn't always work that well. And I know she's been kind of a regular now in Side Scrollers, I think. So she's been more busy, but yeah, I need to catch up with her. I love having Kirsha on. She's better for Renegade Nation even than here on the main channel. Because she does like to dive a lot more to the politics side. So absolutely. All right, man. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And we will see you over on Renegade Nation. Get your butt on